So hello everyone, welcome. We are here at DES in Malaga, Digital Enterprise Show, and I have the opportunity to have a little bit of a conversation with the technical team from WebBeds. We have Constantine. Constantine is the head of development for Romania and Dubai, and we also have Gabriel Perez. He's the head of platform engineering for WebBeds, and between these two gentlemen here and their teams, they're doing great things, especially knowing that WebBeds is in the hotels industry or the travel industry, which has been very much affected during the pandemic. So this is why we wanted to talk a little bit about innovation in times of crisis, let's say, and who better to have that conversation with than you two. So first of all, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And to get the ball rolling a little bit, could we start maybe with introducing WebBeds, what the company is, what kind of systems and volume you guys have to deal with, because it's pretty interesting, at least for me. So who wants to pick that up? And then we go from there.
I will start. So, hi, Jose. Thank you for inviting us. It's been a pleasure. So, discussing a little bit about WebBeds, we are part of WebJet Limited Group, which is a public company listed into the stock exchange in Australia. And us, WebBeds, as part of that group, we are the second largest bed bank in the world, the fastest growing, and we are part of the B2B side inside the group. So our customers are mostly online travel agencies. So we source different products from all over the world, and we sell it to the online travel agency mostly all over the world. So in terms of volumes, yeah, I would say that one of the key aspects, which is particular to this business, is the high volume of searches coming all over from all over this online travel agencies. So I think all over right now with all our systems, we are processing daily more than 4 billion requests, more billion searches. And as you can imagine, this creates a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities for people to innovate, it's one of the key aspects that we need to take care in order for us to stay competitive and to offer good service to our clients.
And it's also selling all over the world. That means your systems can go down anytime, right? Like it's like there's never the right time to do maintenance or the right time to take things offline. You really need to change the wheels on the car while the car is going all the time.
Exactly.
Right?
That needs to be very careful planned out, because there is no very low situation, because operating all over the globe, always there is business somewhere. So if it's not in Americas or Asia, Europe, all over the place. So yeah, that indeed creates kind of some interesting challenges to keep that rolling.
Okay. So could you give us a bit of an overview of what the current state of the industry is? Because, especially in your sector, when the pandemic hit, like that simply was a punch in the gut, no, so to speak, to the whole industry. Exactly. So how are things at the now, or how has that evolution been, let's say?
So let's say before the pandemic, there were many years where everybody was just keeping focus on being able to cope with increasing size of business, searches all over the place. Everybody was kind of optimizing for that. Then the pandemic came and everything almost came to a stop. So you can imagine, like, I don't know, maybe 90% of the business went down instantly. And we had to adapt quickly to that, as you can imagine, to reduce the cost by all means, because we couldn't close shop. Everything had to be done in order to keep the market open with enough reasonable cost. And not only that, that created a lot of, let's say, challenges itself. Like all this uncertainty, which all the situation with COVID, several lockdowns all over the world, increasing demand, because in the end, through all these tough times, people wanted to travel, and they were preparing to travel, wanted to take opportunities. But as lockdown came to different parts of the world, high cancellation rates came. So there was a huge pressure, as you can imagine, on customer support to deal with all that. There was also a huge pressure on the platforms to deal with that. So I would say what was one of the key lessons learned, and we had to adapt, that you cannot really expect the situation where you have a linear growth. So you need to be prepared to have peaks, deal with that, but also as lockdown came to different parts of the world, to be able to adapt also with that the entire business, not only the IT, but all the commercial organization support and all that. So that created some challenges on itself. So, and for sure, you cannot, maybe with IT systems, us being in the cloud in AWS, you can scale up and down, and maybe you can optimize the costs, but that creates pressures also on different business units, which cannot really, they are not yet in AWS, so to scale them down and up as we wish. So some level of automation had to be thought and to be put in place in order to relieve some pain into that aspect. So one of the key things which happened, and also which has changed a little bit the business, and also which us an IT organization had to adapt, was like, if before the COVID, the travel industry was, and at least the players in our field were like very focused on international travel, which was the biggest part of the business. During the pandemic, that changed. So the biggest part of the business started to become the domestic travel, and these huge markets like USA, China, Europe, where people traveled a lot more locally. So this is where business had to adapt. Us, we had to help the business and deliver solutions into this direction, to take advantage and to keep the business going into this sector. Another thing which changed a lot was like, before, nobody, maybe, or not many of maybe the online travel agencies put much effort into optimizing, because our type of business is very search oriented. So you have a lot of product, a lot of searches, and maybe before COVID, there was not that level of optimization put in place. Right now, people are more, let's say, willing to put this effort to optimize, to get the right product, to make the searches more effective, in order to be prepared for the unknown, let's say.
I mean, with increasing volume, you also need to keep those costs as low as possible, right? So that you can deal with the demand. So Gabriel, so what are some of the, let's say, technological innovations, so to speak, that you've had to put in place in order to cope with some of these challenges that Costa was mentioning before? Things like the traffic, the variability of the traffic, the quick turnaround for new features or new, let's say, developments for the platform in order to take advantage of the opportunities that were presented. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, when we were looking for optimize the cost, well, hello everybody. Thank you for inviting me first. I just jumped to the answer. So the first thing is that we have to be very flexible, because in that point in time, we didn't know how long is going to be this situation. So in the beginning of the pandemic was we have to optimize the platform, what, weeks, months, years? So it was completely unknown. Nobody can say anything about. And in the same time, we need to have the chance of scaling up quickly and scale down quickly, depending of the lockdowns. Because maybe if one government changed the rules, everything changed for us, in 1 second, let's say. So we also were near to renew the reservations plan with Amazon, and in the same time we have the order of no cash out. That the company have to retain the money as they could. That was absolutely normal. Everybody did the same thing. So looking at options, we find the spot instances as a good strategy. So the spot instance is just the hardware that is not used, and the providers have there, and they sell you with big discounts of 50%, 60%, and so on. But the problem is the stability, because they can take you out this hardware in just with a 2-minute notification, and you need to mix a pool of instances that are completely different one to the other, different processors, different sizes, different RAM, everything is different. So there is where we did an innovation of dealing with all this flexibility, with all this diversity of instances, and send the right amount of requests to each of them. So we can use whatever instance type and any time, and this gives us the flexibility to scale down and scale up the platform as we wish. Plus the reduction cost that was massive. We also did other optimizations at the same time, that was to reduce the traffic interzone, the reduce load balancing, to do everything in service mesh, and all the costs, even the small ones. We were looking how to just remove everything that we can, and it was nice because it drive us to a new mentality, also to have the things simple, not with a lot of components and a lot of magic in the middle. We just get clean in some aspect, and we reduce more than the 50% of the cost, near to 70% global across all the platforms. So it was a nice experience. Yes.
What would you say were the hardest problems to solve in that case? Like, what are, because a lot of the things that you mentioned, those are services or let's say the technology or components that are available or were already available from AWS, right? But as we know, especially we specialize in modernization, so it's not always easy to take advantage of those components if your systems are not designed to
Yep.
work in that way. So what were some of the problems, let's say, or more difficulties that you had trying to make that work?
One was, let's say, the political part, of assuming the risk. This is another important thing of mentioning, because we have the trust of the senior leadership of saying, okay, go ahead, you can try. And this is, I think it's not common to have this level of trust and support, because we were playing big with that, is change the entire platform, because we are running 100% spot instances with a production platform with almost 5 billion requests by day. So it's not a toy, so we actually were playing big with that. And then the first problem, or the main problem that we have, is we have the support from Amazon team, and we were discussing with them before start the plan. And the way that is set up right now is you can use the spots, but you cannot route the traffic for a spot world, let's say, because the load balancer is just not aware of what is the instance that he have behind. So the load balancer just spread the request. And the available algorithms that we have in the market, that is a round robin, list request, and so on, is not a good fit for us, because we have one request compared with another that can be 100 times heavy in terms of CPU usage. So if you just use the number of the connections, you can kill several machines in one shot, and it's like a cascade. You lose some instances, then you have less instances, more pressure to the remaining instances, and then everything crash, and the system goes down. So we need to create a good protection mechanism to have the queue system in each of the instances to be able to detect when the instances are reaching the limit, share this information to the router that we built for this process. So the router is aware of the state of the machines, not just in terms of if it's, let's say, the usual health checks, the pings and so on, is actually aware of the level of CPU usage, the size of the queue, that means that the level of request that is managing at that point in time, and if it's healthy or not. So using all these parameters, is able to route the traffic to use the right amount of CPU and resources in each of the instances.
And I'm guessing this also required, I mean, some of these things may not have readily available solutions, right? So you had to also dig in and,
Yeah.
and try to match, no, both things. Hey, we can do this with what's already there, but we need to build all this other stuff just to make it work. No, a
Yeah.
little bit of glue as well to make that happen really
Yes.
fast. Yeah.
Mostly because we have two different platforms, that is Windows and Linux. So we have to make something that works in both cases, and this was a challenge because for Linux there is a lot of stuff, but for Windows is almost nothing, and nobody is actually working in the stream of doing something for Windows servers so far. So we have to do something in common for both that works in the same way, protect both cases, and play around. So.
All right, and this question is a bit for both of you. So how did this new, let's say, innovation, this new adoption of technology and so on, change the way that you work? Because you mentioned, we need to monitor the state of the queues, or like that. So there's a lot of data and observability related to that, but I'm guessing it also changed, the way that the teams build those systems, or they put them out and try them and test them and so on. So are there any insights around ways of working, let's say, on how that changed the way that maybe you collaborate internally or think about building the software?
Yeah, so go ahead.
Go, Kostel.
Oh, you go.
Okay, so I think the first change is the cost. That since the COVID, we actually have the cost in the table for every single development and every single case. Is something that was not happening before because the company was growing and growing and growing, and the cost was like something that you look after. At some point you have a revision or when someone complain about. So now it's a part of the mentality of every single piece that we are developing, every single piece that we are designing. The cost is in front of us.
Yeah, I would say that this mentality was maybe adapted for the COVID situation, but we were like walking this kind of path for quite a few years. And I think for us, one of the key things was also being in the cloud, where we could quickly design and experiment with stuff without guessing, is this working? Will this benefit will be actual tangible? Having this flexibility of testing things out quickly, I think it was also part of the success in many of these initiatives, like actually experimenting with real situations, observing that, doing a lot of data analysis on those experiments, and eventually this, I think, in all these years has contributed to a lot of speed of time to market in refining and making this production ready.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because with the adoption of cloud, a lot of the times what we see is that let's say those boundaries where you have a platform team or an operations team and a development team and a QA team and so on, those boundaries kind of start blurring a little bit. You need developers to know about how the platform is run and how the systems, and be able to make some of the changes if you really want to have the speed, and if you really want to have that continuous flow of value, right? But at the same time, you still need someone to be an expert in it and to have accountability and responsibility. So how have you managed that let's say evolution of the skill set in the team as well?
So this is an interesting point, because let's say COVID was not only about facing these challenges, but also brought some bubble of fresh air and provided some time for us to evolve into some of these directions. Because for many years, maybe the entire IT organization was focused, okay, grow, 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 and also the hotel industry is very quick to change, and you continuously need to adapt to those situations. Let's say also during the pandemic, there was also this space where we could reflect. It was a good opportunity to learn new skills, to induct the teams into new ways of working, experimenting with ways of working on top of all the challenges that everybody faced with working remotely from home and this new ways of working. But for us, at least, it was also an opportunity, which I think it paid off, because going through it, at the end of it, I think that the teams acquired quite a lot of new skills, new technologies, new ways of working. So I would say from this aspect, also this was a good thing. And you were mentioning what was some of the keys factor. So trust in our people, leaving ideas flowing around, experimenting when we see an opportunity from anyone in the teams. So this flexibility of coming with an idea, like real idea, and let's give it a try, let's experiment it to see how this plays out, and eventually putting it to production when it pays off, also contributed a lot to overcome of these challenges. I would say that the teams and the people inside the company were like a key success factor.
What about you, Gabriel? Would you add anything else?
I was thinking that also the mentality of how to face the problems change, because we had this situation that everybody was thinking that whatever that you need to do is done. Is someone already did in the market. Everything is invented. And when we started to face these problems, we were thinking, okay, let's go to Spot, let's do this kind of stuff, and then we realized that not everything was invented. It's like we faced hardly because we were under the pressure of getting results. So to be sincere and open, it was not a situation that we were, okay, let's innovate, we have a free time. No, it was a lot of pressure of reducing the cost. So and in the same time, we just went for the innovation part because there were not a solution on the table in the market to do it. So this, I think, changed the mentality. I like to think that the mentality changed in the organization for everybody in the same way, that we don't have to assume that the things are done and everything is invented, that there is a lot of room for improvements everywhere. And just that people need to try, have imagination and go ahead with that.
Yeah, before we were talking as well about metrics and observability. Has the data aspect of things changed for you as well? Because you have a lot of volume, and a lot of times, when something goes wrong, you might not immediately be able to know exactly what it was, but you need enough information to find out and solve it and diagnose and so on. So from that perspective, are there any changes maybe to the decision making process based on data and so on? Or
so go.
Okay, so I think this is a key aspect, because now we have a strong team in the data lake that is the source of truth, actually, for everything that we have in the platforms. Is even feeding the financial information, not just reporting or dashboards and stuff like that. So this gives us the chance to actually explore and work with the data and take decisions all over, of where we have to optimize, which clients are not booking or not looking for the proper hotels for them. There are a lot of combinations, a lot of way of looking at it, because it can be driven by the commercial teams, by the IT teams, by the developers. So it's everybody now looking and working on top of the same information. And also this changed the mentality, I think, in IT, because in IT now everybody is looking how I can store the data of the process that I am managing to analyze later.
It becomes like data becomes the glue that brings everyone together. No, it's like, hey, we need to be looking, we need to shorten the feedback loop, from those experiments and figuring out if it's working as soon as possible. But in order to do that, everyone needs to be contributing to make that happen, right? Like, we can't just have visibility in one place and not the other. No,
exactly. And everybody was cooking their own data before. So in platform, we were collecting the data in the way that we could and having something there, and then the commercial team was doing another thing. There is a joke from the director of data lake, that he said that there was a bunch of minions sharing Excel, no? And and it was quite like that. And now it's changing a lot, because now we go directly to the same data, and there is no discussions about how you are cooking this reporting, how you are collecting this information, and it's not matching from what the commercial team with the IT team have, and there is no discussions more like that, and it's optimizing also the time and the clarity.
Right. Also, you wanted to say something else there?
Oh, we pretty much Gabi covered for it.
Okay, so one last question, because we're almost at the end. When we talked about adopting technologies or new technologies and being able to do all of these things really fast, well, you already mentioned the trust in the people that you have and the technical expertise and so on is essential, right, to be able to do these. And that is something that in the current context, no, globally is there's a battle for talent going on, no? So how are you guys kind of handling that situation? How are you mitigating the risks and basically getting that access to the people that you need in order to make things work?
Yeah, and as you can imagine, this was particularly difficult during the pandemic, us being one sector which was hardly hit. Luckily for us, let's say, also being a publicly listed company, we could show to the people the data behind that the company is strong, and there should not be something to worry about. But during the pandemic, that on the recruiting end, for sure, you can imagine that was a topic appearing in this process. But for us, yeah, we work to bring people who are very open to this idea of being able to experiment and make things happen, because in the end we are not a very large IT organization, and if you have good ideas, it's a good place to experiment and make them happen, and being let's say allowed to do so. And also the fact that we have this huge volume of searches presents like a challenge and an opportunity for people who are into that, like optimizing to very, very fine details, like the software, the services that we use, especially in this very, very high volumes, everything counts. And this is where maybe it's something which is very appealing to some of the technical people.
Okay, so the types of challenge that you handle is something that attracts, but as but let's say the one of the main criteria would be also someone who's open to that experimentation, to that trying out things and learning from them as they're going, instead of hey, I've been doing this for a very long time, I don't want to move outside of this. Well, guess what? If the context changes, we need to change and we need to evolve, and that predisposition to try new things and to continue learning and developing is it was a key aspect as well. Okay, well, one last thing. So let's say, what would you recommend to let's say another company or someone who's kind of facing some of these challenges themselves now, given that the theme for this is digital transformation, innovation, all of these things are very present, not only in your sector, but I'm guessing that there are lessons learned and things that particularly helped you along the way. So are there any of those that you want to share with the people in general?
So from my side, I think there is you just need to try the things, and don't need to be orthodox. That is the other thing, there is no need actually to just follow manuals and follow specific ways of doing it because you heard that works in one place or another. You can actually break the rules You can actually challenge it and find your own way of doing, because not all organizations work in the same way. Not all have the same mentality, and not all have the same people. And this is the key thing, that the people is different, and you have to adapt the way of working to the people that you have, because not everybody fits everywhere. So it's important just to see the team and discuss with the team and change whatever route that you have on the table to just go ahead. I mean, I'm focusing the results, not so much in the methodology or and it's difficult to define the line where is the flexibility and where the chaos start. You know, for me, I never see chaos. For me, everything is flexibility, and it's not always good because the perception for the rest of the people is not the same. So, but this is what I think is just look for what you are looking for as a result, and forget about everything else.
So yeah, I think the main thing is just to try it. Take your lessons and adapt in the end. And I've seen this is also a big topic right now. So this also has worked quite well for us. This it's better to just try it, even if it doesn't work always, but take the lessons out of that, improve and adapt to the new situation.
And I would say be pragmatic about it as well, right? Like,
Of course,
is
of
the
course.
like, hey, is it not working? You know, it's not set in stone. You can change it. You can evolve it. That's the whole point, right? Like, hey, we
Exactly.
tried this, didn't work. As soon as we know, let's see what could work, right? And evolve from that. You do not set a one particular direction. Okay, so it's been great talking to you guys. Thank you very much for your time and for sharing, the lessons learned over this past years and about the industry. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. I hope you enjoyed the event. Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe we can do this again some other time. It would be great.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Sure.
Thank you for having us, and looking forward.
Thank you all.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.